Good. Welcome back to the second part, to the second edition of How the French Defense Shall Be Completely Crushed. Now, every day I receive thousands of messages from my students and my fans asking me, Alan, what can I do to play chess like you? I want to be like you. What can I do? And I tell them, there's nothing really you can do, but you can do some things to be close to me. And first of all, you should study all of my games, but all of my wins. Do not study my losses, just look at my wins. Because when I lose, I either was unlucky or my brain just was not working that day. Now, Chess Master Rule 566, that has been well established in my book of how to say my manual for coaching and bringing students to the grandmaster level, is the real chess player never loses to anyone. He only loses when he beats himself. So there's no way for a real chess player to lose a game of chess. When Carlsen loses, he does not lose. He beats himself. And that is something you must always remember. Whenever someone beats you, it's not because they beat you. Most of the time, it's actually because you beat yourself. Because the game of chess is in your control. If you would have played better, they would not have beat you. So, to this game right here, again, we're going to see how to tackle the French defense, like how I do it. Now, the French defense is like my client. It comes and I just give out services like this. Very, very easy, no problems. So let's get right into the heat of things here. So we got this position again, pawn to e5. This is a move of strength. And when I hit this move, I didn't just make any move. I slid my hand very slowly across, and it was shaking because the move was so powerful that it almost caused an earthquake in Serbia. And this game was not played in any ordinary tournament. This was a high level outing where many masters met. It was like a meeting of the, what kind of group can I say? I was going to say some war kind of group. It's like we're in a war room, and these kind of high level sergeants and generals are coming, and they're on this kind of planning skirmish. But this was a tournament. So they moved pawn to e5, and I was up a candidate master from Serbia, a young candidate master. This move pawn to e5, it again, it's a move of it takes more space. White is okay to lose a tempo, but he advances his pawn forward, and this pawn on e5 serves as a bone in the throat of the black position. His bishop is temporarily closed, and white can hope for a kingside attack on the king side because of his space on the king side. Pawn to c5, pawn to c3, and after knight to c6, knight to f3 standard procedure. In the last YouTube video, we saw the same exact thing, and after queen to b6, I played bishop to e2, and the opponent, he dared. He took on d4, I recaptured, and he played knight to h6. Now, it's important to note that this game was played actually before the game in the last YouTube video, just to know how things were running. And here, I played the bishop captures h6, inviting him to take on b2, attacking my rook and my bishop. And here, in the last game that we saw, I played knight to c3, a crazy idea. Here, I had prepared the move knight b to d2. He recaptures on h6. And the main point of this is white is not going to give checkmate to black. White is up in development. However, the black king is relatively it's relatively safe because the center is closed. White is hoping that this damaged pawn structure combined with more space in the center and the lack of development in black, white will perhaps he will have much more control over the position. It's hard for black to castle somewhere. Castle in here, it will be a bit weird. His queen is in a funny position. It will be hard to complete development. It's a sort of half positional, half dynamic sacrifice. And here I castled. He played bishop to d7, and I played rook to b1, ready to get back the pawn. After queen captures a2, rook captures b7 was played. And here my opponent, he was playing very quickly. Now he was playing very quickly. He's blitzing out his moves like he knows something. That didn't scare me. He can play as fast as he wants. And I remember when there was a clash of titans. I was playing some years back in the North American Open in Las Vegas, and I noticed there was this huge buff guy, very very big, very buff, and he was playing against an old guy in the wheelchair, a veteran of the war, veteran like me, except this guy he was probably a real veteran. And the guy is barely in his wheelchair. The guy he looks like almost 100 years old, playing this big buff guy. And the old guy looks at his opponent and he just does him like this. And the big buff guy, he got very nervous. He complained to the arbiter. He said, I cannot focus. My opponent is provoking me, he's provoking me. But the old guy, he was ready for the fight. So rook to b8 was played. I traded rooks, forced his knight back. So here we have black basically has developed only his bishop, and his queen is out in a funny place while white has castled and all his pieces are in the game. However, again, it's still a bit hard to mate the black king or get at it, so I'm playing slowly. Here I prepare to move knight to b3. I'm improving the position of my knight. The knight looks at the c5 square, looks at a5, and here he played the move bishop to a4, pinning my knight, looking like to capture it immediately. What would you do here with white? Here I uncorked the lethal move, queen to c1, which I had in my preparation. Ignoring the knight, looking at the c8 square. What happens? If he takes with the bishop, more accurate would be perhaps to play queen to, let me see here, bishop to b5 check first. If he has knight to d7, we will play queen to c8, attacking the king and the knight, and after he moves, this shall be checkmate. If he takes with the queen, I suspect that we have at a minimum bishop to d1. After he defends the bishop, we can simply take, and play queen to c8, which would attack the knight and the king, winning back the piece with an advantageous position. He played knight to c6, and I retreated the knight back to d2, out of the way. Now his bishop is in a funny place. His queen is in a funny place. His pieces seem like very fragile and he is yet to complete development. He played bishop to e7 and I played queen to c3. A very tricky move. The idea is that if he plays bishop to b4, I prepared queen to a1. And if he trades the queens, his bishop is now under attack. It cannot move here due to my bishop. And if it moves to c2, bishop to b5 comes in, deadly pin on knight. And if he plays king to d7, I would have had rook captures a7. He cannot capture due to the pin. He castled, and I played rook to a1, attacking the queen. After queen c2, I am attacking what Botvinnik, a famous rule of one of the world chess champions, Mikhail Botvinnik. When you are attacking or you have more space, keep pieces on the board, keep queens on the board. And here I played queen to e3, attacking the pawn on h6. Knight to b4 was played, and I simply took the pawn on h6. Nothing to discuss here. Bishop to d7, he retreated, as I was threatening bishop to d1. Perhaps even knight to e1 to disrupt the coordination between the queen and the bishop. And here I simply, with a cold face, took on e7. Now I'm up a pawn, attacking both pieces. After rook to d8, simply I played pawn to h4, making some space for my king. And after knight to c6, attacking my rook, rook to c7 was played, pinning the knight to the queen, queen to f5. And here I realized my queen on h6 is actually not doing much. So I brought it back to e3 with the idea bishop to d3. He brought the queen to g4. And then I realized that his queen is actually on the wrong side of things. His queen is far away from the action. And that prompted me to finally move bishop to b5, to coming from the other side to put pressure. He played knight to b8. And here I found a brilliant move, queen to b3. Keeping the tension, leaving his knight on b8, not allowing it to come to d7. And after bishop h4, Queen to A for what a move. The whole idea is now seen after he took on b5 and I recaptured, his knight on b8 actually cannot go anywhere and it simply is trapped. After bishop to g5 attacking my knight, I don't need to calculate anything. I simply move away from the attack. And still I'm threatening to trap his knight. Bishop f4 and now rook to b7. I have never seen something as beautiful as this. His knight is just trapped on the starting square and material is equal. What a game. Knight to c6 he played. Simply I took. King to h8. What is he doing? He just doesn't want to resign. I took. Rook to g8. Pawn to g3. Nothing to see. He captured an f3. And now queen captures e6. Many threats, such as queen f6. Very big threat. He took on g3. Knight takes for just desperado. And after queen d1, king g2, and simply he resigned. The French defense has been very crushed. Have you ever seen the French defense get crushed like that? Maybe you can employ this new idea in your games and have similar, but not as good a game as I have played here. Keep learning, keep fighting, and together we will improve.